Okay, and that's pretty much it. There were several questions we didn't answer specifically because they were very similar to other questions, but definitely if anybody listening wants to raise their hand and ask more questions, then we can address those.
I just read one. How did we get rid of LeBlanc and
Yes.
Simbai? Thank you guys. This made my day. That's something I can answer because I don't know, but it was funny. Okay.
Rob mentioned here
So
getting rimmed minutes after the beginner protection ends isn't playing. So yes, this is something that we've discussed where we get players who spend a week building up a village and then they get rimmed. It's something we're trying to address by encouraging players to be more involved in their clans and getting support and building troops. So part of that is just getting the right quests, getting people educated on how to play the game.
yeah, and that's right. And we are considering bringing in a feature on some realms where you cannot lose your first village, and we were planning to experiment with that on a small scale. So we'll see how that goes when a person cannot lose you can usually lose your first village, so that will never happen. We're not sure how that's going to be accepted or taken, but we're going to experiment with it. We'll see how it goes. And I should say that unfortunately, many times we brought in a rule, and you guys were, understandably questioning, why a particular feature was developed without, discussing with you. And the reality is that we do discuss it on with small groups. We get your ideas from other things. We look at a number of ideas, suggestions you guys bring together, and we try to analyze what's the essence in all these ideas together, and from that comes up an idea. It's sometimes difficult to ask whether a particular feature coming in, for example, one like you cannot lose your first village, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing until people actually play it. So we actually do create a realm where it's a small realm where new people come in, and we see what that does to retention, what that does to engagement, and it's a sort of a hammer kind of approach, but it does work. All right, so if we're done with the questions,
Steve actually has his hand up.
I have a thank you. I have a thank you. Yeah, I know. I was going to get there, but I have a thank you slide, and I want to make sure I have that.
Okay.
It's always important to have a thank you slide. Oh, where did it go? Oh, it disappeared. No, I will play it. Slideshow. Okay, so we have a thank you slide. For those of you who who cannot be with us any longer, we thank you very much for being here. And for me, this was a wonderful experience. I'm glad to have so many of you. I was afraid there would be apples being thrown in my direction, but I'm glad that you guys could keep your anger inside and bring up some very good suggestions. This was a wonderful experience for me, and I hope it was for you as well. Since we come to the end, those who want to stick around, we can, by raising hands, have a bit of a discussion for the next 10-15 minutes, if you guys are interested. And for those of you who have to go, thank you very much, and I hope to see you in game one day. And we get to a nice war. Okay, I'm kidding, of course. All right, who has a hand up first? Steve. So let me unmute you. Steve, you're online. You're on. What would you like to say?
Yeah, hiya, guy. Hiya there. Right, just a quickie, lads, just to say well done. Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you very well.
Hear me?
Yep.
Okay, just a quickie to say well done, lads, for tonight. Very brave of you to come on and face us all like this. The reason obviously we all do have opinions, strong opinions in some cases, is that we love the game. The game is top notch, and that's why we're all here. And I think everyone should acknowledge that and thank you for that. We do moan and whinge, but it's because we care.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And believe me, when we see 200 responses to some rule that we bring in, even though somebody, if there was a gun, I would be shot. At the end, we do understand that you guys care about the game, and we feel great about it. This is what we want. We want you guys to be passionate about it. We are passionate about what we do. We really are. We've built a game that we wanted to play ourselves, and I'm glad we're not the only ones playing it. So, thank you. Who's next? 1 minute. All right, everybody's 1 minute, so I'm just going to start from the top. Debbie, you're online. Go ahead. Debbie? All right, so we don't have anything from Debbie, so next person will be Scott Smith. Go ahead, Scott.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering about the X realms, why you don't use those more for beta testing for the primary realms, to throw in these features, you know, to test them out and see how they work before they're integrated and people bitch and moan.
Right. Okay, so thank you, Scott. I'll put you back on hold just so that the sound is good. So some of the features, it's sometimes very hard to test on Realm X because Realm X brings in certain kind of player. So we know that Realm of Empires certainly appeals to certain kinds of players. It's a competitive game. It's a game where I personally think a game you actually have to think about what you're doing. It's actually what I would call a real game instead of just a roulette kind of a thing. So it does bring a certain kind of a player, and Realm X even attracts more kind of a competitive player. So when we bring in a feature that is intended to bring a more of a casual player and get them playing a little longer so that they can understand what Realm of Empires is really about, we wouldn't get a good response on a tournament realm. If you brought in research on a tournament realm, I'm certain my car would blow up. So with these things, we do a lot of analysis where we have players, new players, who come into the game, play it, and we look at what they do, how they react. We look at what other games have that those players like, and we make the best decision that we can. And a lot of the features that we have brought in, something like research, are things that are there only at the very beginning. So the impact of that is relatively small because it is only at the beginning. I don't know if that answers your question fully, but it's the best I can think of. And also with certain things like the feature that we're talking about just now, that you cannot lose your first village. Again, it's not something that we could possibly test on Realm X. And again, it's hard to test with current players who like the fact that you can take out a player fully from a realm. That there is no way, that something prevents you from attacking them. But there are players who will prefer that, who like that. So we hope to provide enough realms so that everybody can choose the game they can play. But it's hard to test some features with certain players. And I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. The best I can answer, I guess. Alex Bates has a hand up. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I had asked a question earlier about the tool being hosted off a separate server. What I was referring to was, like Mark said, a web application. I've played a game similar to ROE, and they ran it as a web application. Mm-hmm. And really, you just click the link, it brought up another site that was on another domain, and it was their mapper program ran through a website.
Can
I
you?
know which game you're talking about?
Okay.
All right.
Yes. Sorry, I put you back on hold, but if you want to see something to elaborate, just go ahead, raise your hand again. Yes, it is possible to do. It's just not easy to do. It's just it takes. How can I say this? It's when we look at what we're going to do in the next, say, week or a month and next release cycle, we analyze what we think the impact of a feature will be and what the cost of a feature is. And when there's a feature that say it's going to take us a couple of weeks of development time and we can't do anything else, and we try to analyze the impact of it, it very often gets pushed for the few other features which are a couple of days of development that we believe will have a greater impact. And using user voice voting, we have more confidence in our decision because we can see, okay, number one feature is being asked for is the cross clan forum. So we feel, that it's good that we're working on that instead of something else. So that's so that the answer is yes, it can be done. We know it can be done, but it is a tricky thing to do. It's not easy. It takes time. So we're trying to figure out where we can place it. Go back to the same thing. I know I sound like a broken record, but if you can create a user voice suggestion and and get people to vote on it, then we'll schedule it. All right, sounds good. No hands up, and I've got to run. I've got kids to take to swimming lessons. So Greg in swimming attire. I'm not going to be taking pictures for you guys. Thank you all for being here. It was a good experience, and we certainly hope to do it again. I'm so glad that we have so many players, and we had such a good turnaround. Thank you all. Wonderful to have you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.